It's been over a year since the Zelda movie was announced, and while we have heard tiny tidbits of information since, it's pretty clear that this film is very much still in the pre-production phase. And while Sony and Nintendo figure out the crucial details for the film, fans debate whether this is really a necessary step for the Zelda franchise to take. Video game adaptations as a whole have always been difficult to get right, and while a lot of them aim to remain faithful to the source material, there's always a difficulty in adapting the elements of a video game into a movie format. Today I want to pose the question to you that I asked myself when I first saw the announcement. Do we really need a Zelda movie? And is there a risk that the franchise I love could flop to a larger audience? Let's chat about it. Welcome to another weekly video here on the Zelda realm. My name is Joe, and it's a pleasure to have your company. If you'd like to support me, please just like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an upload. Without further ado, let's jump straight into the movie and where we are with it. On the 7th of November 2023, Nintendo icon and Zelda creator Shigeru Miyamoto announced the Zelda movie on Twitter with the following statement. This is Miyamoto. I have been working on the live-action film of The Legend of Zelda for many years now with Avi Arad-san, who has produced many mega-hit films. I have asked Avi-san to produce this film with me, and we have now officially started this development of the film, with Nintendo itself heavily involved in the production. It will take time until its completion, but I hope you look forward to seeing it. Coupled with this post was the news that the movie would be co-financed and produced in collaboration with Sony, and while Nintendo will finance over 50% of the movie, it will be Sony who will distribute the movie worldwide for its theatrical release. Wes Ball, known for directing the Maze Runner series, is slated to direct the film, who had previously expressed an interest in directing a Zelda film. In 2010, he tweeted this: "Since I could never even hope to have the chance to direct it, the next big mocap Avatar-like movie should be The Legend of Zelda." All in capital letters, all very exciting. So if any of us are worried about the passion of the people behind this project, I think it's safe to say that there's no need to question the heart of the key people involved. Zelda is, after all, Miyamoto's actual baby child. There is no way he would let one of his finest creations be destroyed in a movie. And with other key figures having a passion for the franchise, my hope is that this will translate into a high quality product come release. But this video really isn't about the facts of the whole thing. It really is old news at this stage. Today I want to take time to discuss the potential ramifications of the film and what that could potentially mean for the Zelda franchise. As a devoted fan of Zelda, I won't lie to you when I say that this movie leaves me feeling a little bit anxious, especially when we know that it will be a live action film. So let's discuss three things: the story, the characters, capturing the magic. As a franchise, Zelda has always prioritised its gameplay over anything else. When developing the games, it's well known that the first step is to design new gameplay elements and the game's dungeons before fitting a story into this piece, and yet, somehow miraculously, some of the best Zelda titles have some brilliant and original story beats, and the lore is without question the deepest of any of Nintendo's main IPs. Zelda lore has always been fascinating, not least because the Zelda teams have always created story and world elements that have a high level of mystery attached to them. Zelda thrives whenever there are unanswered questions left for the dedicated community of fans to throw theories out and imagine what the answers might be. But what about the movie? One of the biggest unanswered questions we have with it is whether the movie will tackle a new original story or interpret one of Zelda's best stories from the games. Let's say the decision is taken to tell one of Zelda's iconic stories. Immediately there are three which come to mind which only make sense when following the timeline. These are Breath of the Wild, Ocarina of Time, and Skyward Sword. Purely from an adaptation and sequential point of view, Skyward Sword does make the most sense as the origins of the franchise. There is key lore to establish here, and it paves the way for sequels to come with different iterations of the same characters. For me, it's one of Zelda's most fleshed out titles, with the most insight into the lead roles and a story that could work well on the big screen. The first half would follow Link as he ends up a step behind Zelda, and if it isn't to be Skyward Sword, It then has to be Ocarina of Time, where the timeline splits and allows for potential future movies to link back, or Breath of the Wild, where a sequel is waiting and there to be made should it be given the go-ahead. The biggest problem with this comes with creating a divide in the fanbase. Should the story not work on screen, there is a huge risk in alienating Zelda's large and well-established fanbase. An original title feels like the most sensible route for the movie to take, but this in itself is not without its flaws. The film will need to face into Zelda's key components without damaging the lore already established in the series, but will also need to explain the key pillars of the franchise like the Triforce and other elements to a new audience, while also maintaining the attention of those who are aware of these. In a lore-rich franchise such as Zelda, it feels as though the whole movie will need to walk on a tightrope to keep everyone happy. It's maybe the most contentious issue of the three, and also maybe the area where Nintendo need to be the most careful, but the casting somehow has to be perfect for this film to have any chance of succeeding. We've seen with the Mario movie that casting matters less if the film is animated. While being heavily criticised when first announced, the cast of Mario actually delivered on many different fronts. Chris Pratt, while now absolutely a meme, gave a Mario performance that certainly didn't do anything to harm the character, and Jack Black gave so much character to Bowser in a way that only Jack Black could. Importantly, the movie was a success and pretty well received, and I do think a lot of praise should go to all involved in making the movie what it was. The Zelda movie takes another direction though, with live action meaning that the actors cast will be front and centre in their roles on screen. Zelda's three pillar characters, as I call them, Link, Zelda and Ganondorf, are all iconic and well known, and the movie has to deliver on lofty expectations. Of the three, I feel that Zelda is maybe the easiest to cast, with so many great actresses that could take on the role and encapsulate her warm and caring spirit. I don't mean this in a bad way whatsoever, but I think Zelda is the least complex of the three characters, and there's a big opportunity for the movie to flesh out her character even further. There is a reality that says that Ganondorf will not feature in the movie depending on what route the movie takes, and part of me wonders what discussions are taking place in terms of the villain here. Ganondorf is one of gaming's greatest villains, and it will be absolutely vital that the movie delivers, not just with the casting, but also the presentation of his character. Ganondorf is a complex and multi-dimensional character with a real feeling of dread surrounding him. He's almost Thanos-like in his stature and has to have the level of threat attached to him. In no way, shape or form should the movie introduce Ganondorf and have him killed by the end. He deserves more, and I think a lot of the movie's success relies on how well the role of Ganondorf is executed. Finally, the biggest issue this movie will need to address is that of Link's character. Casting is going to be horrifically difficult, and the actor who plays him is going to have a lot of work on their hands to bring him to life on the big screen. I've already spoken about the complexities of Link's character despite his silence, and I was surprised to learn that quite a few people feel that Link should be silent in the movie, adding further to the impact of the silence in the games. And I must say, I totally understand where this train of thought comes from. There's a level of attachment we have to Link that would struggle to see him talk, and talk a lot at that. I think there's almost a fear that a speaking Link actually represents a dumbing down of him in a way, but make no bones about it, this movie's success will already be decided whenever we find out who's playing Link. There is absolutely a scenario where the first trailer releases and the casting is not good, and people already decide they won't be going to see the film in the first place. I'm just glad I'm not an executive at Nintendo or Sony making that decision. Here is the major sticking point for me, and the element of the film that worries me the most. How will the movie come close to capturing the magic and the core mechanics of the gameplay into the movie? Zelda has always been about exploration and puzzle solving, and the dungeons and world design are as important as the story. The best Zelda games are remembered because of the dungeons they have. These labyrinths not only deepen our connection with Link, but also have their own stories to tell, designed in such a way to add to the world and its many parts. So when I was writing this video and trying to find a way to talk through capturing the magic, I figured the best way to do that would be to actually play through a part of a dungeon, and this is the very start of the Earth Temple. kind of explain why I think it's going to be very, very difficult for the film to capture what it is that the Zelda games are all about. We spend a lot of time in the Zelda games playing through dungeons. Well, not if you're Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. And they form such key components of the games. It is all about adventure, exploration, and all that kind of thing. And I think the problem that I have, or the worry that I have, is how will this type of traversal and combat and puzzle solving relate to the movie? And when you think about it, it's not as simple as just saying, oh well, because you can't ignore the dungeons. That's not possible. The dungeons are so key, and they do form the magic of the series. Things like this, so this is only the very start of the Earth Temple and Skyward Sword. The point I'm trying to make here is there are puzzles, there's combat, and then there's ultimately the boss at the end. The next time you'll see me, I'll be playing the boss, and I just want you to have a think about how do epic battles, and I know the boss for this temple isn't necessarily epic, how do they translate into a film? So this is where I think we're going to see a real, I'm going to call it struggle for the film. So I've just finished the Earth Temple. We're heading into a boss fight. There's a lot of atmosphere. You're like, right, what's going to happen? All that kind of thing. You have no idea what's going on. And then of course you get the fight, whatever that looks like. The problem is, when it comes to the movie, how do you even go about replicating this atmosphere, feel, and then also the ability to have the fight and the thing? And if I would stop talking, I'd appreciate that, because she's just ruined my flow. So if we get this started, and while we're completing the boss fight, I want to talk through where I think, you know, there's going to be a struggle. So let's say we do a movie in Skyward Sword. We know that, or fans know that Girahim is not the big bad, but he's presented as the big bad throughout. Is the movie going to follow the same idea of, we fought Girahim once, he then goes ahead? This is the thing that's not going to happen. We're not going to see these dungeons, we're not going to see these boss fights, we're not going to see these interactions with characters. It's going to look very different. And it's almost as if to tamper expectations, to change people's perception of the Zelda franchise. And this wasn't the reason it was done, but Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom allow for the difference in the way in which we view the franchise, because it wasn't dungeons, it was open air, it was open world, you could go and do whatever you wanted. And that's kind of the problem. But when it comes to the movie itself, how do they capture the magic of the gameplay loop? And that for me is my biggest reservation, especially now when we get this started. This isn't the best boss by any means either. This is pretty lame as a boss fight, but in terms of, you've completed the dungeon, oh look, there is the boss that's coming up. Are we really going to see Link fight Skuldera? Yeah, I don't personally don't think so. And that's where I think the difficulty for me comes in visualizing the film. As we come to the end of the boss fight, the question really is, how do you capture this in the film? So how would we go about from capturing this sequence where, you know, Link gets stronger, gets the extra heart, all that kind of stuff? That's obviously not going to happen in the film. And my biggest fear with all of this is, We are so used to what I'm going to call the Zelda formula, right? So the idea of dungeons, bosses, heart containers, blah blah. The movie will go down the action-adventure route, I have absolutely no doubt about that. But how does it capture the essence of Zelda? And that is the question I'm asking in this video. So the reality is that for me, this is a project that I feel could bring more harm than good. It's going to have to find that special something to achieve what could be perceived to be almost impossible. Trust me when I say that I would love nothing more than an epic Zelda story told through film, with magical CGI moments and a new life brought to the franchise, but I just have too many reservations to really let myself feel excited for this. So many of the problems come about for me because the movie is live action. There are even more hoops to jump through to achieve greatness. Casting Link, Zelda and Ganondorf, if he's in the movie, will be critical and could ultimately make or break the project. But for now we wait, and all we can do is speculate. It'll only be when the movie hits our screens that we'll be able to fully judge it and its impact on the series. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, why not give it a like and comment down below your views on the movie and the direction it's heading. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, I've been the Zelda Realm, and I'll see you soon.